Is it true that the Aries people in your life are some of the most obnoxious, pushy, demanding, dominating people that you know? I mean, no, of course not. We love Aries energy. I love Aries energy. And while Aries can be really good at getting what we need by being pushy and being dominating, mostly what we're trying to do with Aries is we are trying to learn from that Aries energy. So if you have somebody in your life that feels like they're bossy or they're always pushing their way into getting what they need, pay attention. Those are the people that are your role models, believe it or not. And the truth is, you don't have to have a lot of Aries in your chart to be working with this Aries energy. Hi, I'm Natha Perkins of Electroastrology. This is Awakening with Astrology. In this show, I go through all of the sun signs, cover all of the different facets of the sun signs. And today we are making the transition between Pisces into Aries. And this is always one of the most startling transitions, I think, between signs that we can make because Pisces is so out there and it's so confusing. There's so much that is unknown, and Aries is pretty darn clear. I want what I want, and here's how I'm going to get it kind of energy. So if you've missed my Pisces talks, go back and check them out. There's quite a few. And if you have not registered for my season by season Equinox Vision free astrology workshop, you can find that in the link below. There's so much astrology happening in 2025 that it's almost impossible to really cover it in these talks. And so every time the sun moves into a cardinal sign, I'm going to be holding one of these workshops. If you're listening to this in the future and you're like, oh, damn it, I missed the workshop, go to electroastrology.com. That's where you can find me and all of my work. And I will probably be hosting something that is current to the time that you're listening to this. So do all the things like subscribe so that this information can find you again. And you know my style. I like to teach astrology through the lens of psychology and spirituality. We are all in this together. We're all doing the same work, even though we have unique and different lives. And if you have found this information, it means that you are awake and aware enough to be wanting to get to the next level of consciousness. And that's what we're doing. We are just trying to wake ourselves up out of that amnesia, and we're trying to see the world for what it is now. There's so much that's shifting and changing, and there are so many doors of our consciousness that are opening to us, things that we were not able to conceptualize before. And yet it's going to take our brains some time to wrap themselves around what we're actually capable of. So I'm talking about intuitive downloads, telepathy, a deeper knowing of what's really going on, a better understanding of what you're doing on this planet in embodiment, a stronger connection to your source and to your unique mission and purpose on the planet at this time. So those are the kind of topics I am weaving into astrology. So you might have shown up for the astrology and you're going to stay for the personal connections that you're going to make as you're listening. So take a breath. Ask that your higher self helps you to hear exactly what it is that you found this video so that you can hear. And let's get started. We are transitioning from Pisces to Aries. By the way, these particular talks are edited from season 5 of my podcast. I'm taking it from podcasts and I'm turning it into YouTube because I want to have all of the videos in one single place so that you can find them and get whatever information you need. Your higher self will guide you to what that is. But at this point, there are a ton of videos that are there in the library just waiting for you to listen to. All right, let's get started. We're going from Aries to Pisces. When the sun changes signs, we feel that. We feel an energetic shift. We are in such a symbiotic relationship with the sun and the sky. And astrologically, of course, the sun is the heart of who we are. It is our center. And most of us have to spend many, many years trying to figure out what is actually at our center. That sun that gives us the warmth, that generates the light, that helps us to grow the food, helps us to clean the waters. All of these gifts that we get from the sun are gifts that we also have within us that we need to learn how to cultivate. What happens with our sense of self is that we are told who to be. We are given the parameters that our sun is allowed to expand into. And that's going to look different for everybody. But we come to understand who we are through the lens of our parents, our teachers, our peers, our communities, our culture. And then we must spend most of our lives, if we're doing a life of self-awareness, not everybody is, we have to spend the rest of our lives unpacking what we were told and reestablishing, really looking at how we relate to our sun. We come to understand who we are by following that which we love, that which makes us feel excited and lit up. Most of us learn to do the other thing. We follow what doesn't make us feel lit up because we feel obligated or we feel like that is the only way that we're going to find success. And so when I'm working with clients and we're doing sun work, we're essentially looking to unpack the conditioning and all of those tiny little boxes that you were taught to put your light into and close it up and put it away for later because that passion wasn't going to make you money. Following that joy was not going to set you up for success. Being warm and toasty over here was going to make you look like a loser over here, right? We have all of these notions about why it is unsafe to allow our light to shine and why it is not okay to be who we truly are. And we have to discover who we are through the things that make us laugh, things that we have fun with. The sun, as a ruler of the fifth house and belonging along with the sign of Leo, these are fifth house themes: love affairs, children, fun, pleasure, excitement, drama. All of these things that really captivate us and make us want to immerse ourselves in those things. And it is through those things that we ultimately come to understand on deeper and deeper levels who we are. Now, I'm talking about the sun. We'll cover this more extensively in Leo season, but I'm talking about the sun right now because the sun is an identity star. Leo is an identity sign. And we are moving into the sign of Aries, also an identity sign. Aries is ruled by Mars. In a traditional zodiac wheel, it represents the rising sign. So that is the eastern horizon where we watch that sun rise up. Whatever was happening on that eastern horizon when you were born is considered your rising sign. Now, like every single sunrise, they're all very unique. Sometimes the sun comes bursting up. Sometimes you can't see it at all when it rises because of clouds. Sometimes it creates the most beautiful sunrise you've ever seen. It's always different and unique. And that is the same for our rising signs. How we enter into a room, how we make our way into the scene, how we make our appearance, that is the rising sign. And so that is connected in traditional astrology to the sign of Aries. You can see that the difference between the two identities, the sun is at the heart of who you are. It is your inner light that is going to expand and grow, get warmer, be able to grow more abundance, the more that you're able to understand it. Move towards the things that feel abundant to you. Now, with the rising sign or the sign of Aries, this is more of an energy of how do you show up in new situations when you are unfamiliar with something. Everybody has a different rising sign, and I won't go through every single sign to translate that, but I just want to give you the visual here that Aries, when the sun moves into Aries, it is our astrological new year. And it is also representative of the first sign of the zodiac, the sign where we come in, where we are birthed. There is a newness and a freshness. And there can also be a defendedness. And Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. And Mars is the planet of war. So we look at Aries and we say, in order to be yourself, you have to learn how to defend yourself. And that defense can show up in all of these different ways. We think about defending ourselves and we think automatically of a fight. While Aries is not afraid to fight, it can be a very explosive and combative sign. Not everybody is going to relate to their Aries in their chart in that way. And not everybody is going to have a rising sign that is instantly combative. However, all of us have ways of defending ourselves in the world, of protecting, of making sure that we stay safe, of making sure that we stay loved, that we are accepted. Because when you think about an infant coming into the world, an infant is totally defenseless, but an infant has to figure out how to get their needs met with the tools that they have. Infants have a voice to scream and cry. They have a certain smell on their head that makes mothers bond to them. When they nurse, both the infant and the mother are delivered oxytocin. So there are all of these ways that the infant is already well prepared to come in and defend their position on the planet. Like I said, it's not always like defensive. How can I protect myself? And so as we move through Aries season, we're going to be talking a lot about this energy of protection, of defensiveness, of boundaries, but also this energy of how do I get my needs met? How am I going to survive this show? And that is, in a nutshell, the energy of Aries. How am I going to survive? Now, we go through many versions of our lives. We develop many techniques to ensure our survival. When we're looking at the zodiac, and I'm going to talk about Pisces here in a minute because I want to make this clear for you. The signs that are on the bottom side of the zodiac wheel, which are Aries, Taurus, Mercury, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, those are considered to be the personal signs, and they are ruled by planets that are considered to be personal planets. So we look at these energies as energies that are woven into our every single day, our every single moment. So in the case of Mars, we are always having to figure out how to survive. Perhaps not literally for everybody, but certainly we're always jockeying for position. Anytime that we come into a new situation, whether we're at the gas station or we're walking into a workshop, even if we're walking into our own kitchen, there are these mental gymnastics where we are assessing the environment. We're looking around, we're determining safety, we're getting a sense of how we are oriented in time and space, and so that we know how to react. Now, that reaction is going to speak to, very simply, how am I going to make it in this situation? What do I need to do? What do I need to bring to the table? Now let's go back to Pisces. We talked through Pisces season about how complicated Pisces really is as a sign and how much we don't understand and how much we will never understand. I don't believe that while in human embodiment that we are ever given the entire complete map of how it all works. We are gifted pieces of it, and we have visions and experiences with healers and our own intuitive downloads and our own relationship to our guides and spirit. But we are never really given the entire lay of the land. In many ways, we can feel magic. We can tap into the ethereal realms. We can get bits and pieces of the vastness of true nature. And it can also generate some fear, the fear of not knowing, the fear of confusion, the fear of loneliness and disconnection. So I want you to think about the place, the cusp right in between Pisces and Aries. And a lot of astrologers will describe that 29th degree of Pisces as being one of the most difficult degrees because it is the degree of death. If 0 degrees of Aries is the degree of birth, then we are looking at having to hold, as we transition between these two signs, some depth in our understanding. We are looking at having to face our mortality, having to face the unknown, and having to go off into something that is completely beyond our understanding. And then we transition immediately back into the human experience. We begin fresh as an infant. We begin fresh when we walk into situations. Even if you have walked into your own kitchen a million times, there's always a freshness. There's always an assessing of the landscape, a getting a sense of what is here. Who do I need to be in order to survive this particular room of my life? And so with Aries, we are looking at identity. What is my identity? How do I hold my identity? When I'm doing readings with clients and I watch the rising sign, and what I have found consistently is that when we are born into a family, we learn through the lens of our rising sign. So, through the qualities of whatever that sign is, we learn that that's who we need to be in order to survive. I have to be responsible. I have to be loving. I have to be funny. Okay. So, we all have a rising sign where we learn this is how I have to be. And then we progress into our lives and we hit school and we have peers. And again, our rising sign informs us on a more mature level this time. This is who you have to be in order to be accepted. And it depends on who we're trying to be accepted by. If you're trying to be accepted by your teachers and your potential future college, you know that you have to be intelligent. If you're trying to be accepted by the popular group, you know that you have to be fun and beautiful. If you're trying to be accepted by a person that you have a crush on, you learn to be flirtatious and appealing. So we learn a lot about how to survive situations as we move through our lives. As we get older and we reach these thresholds of adulthood where it begins to become pretty obvious that it doesn't matter quite as much what other people think about us, that what really matters is that we are showing up in situations with our confidence. We know what to do. We have what it takes. As we are moving through Aries season, especially as we're making this transition from the not knowing, the spiritual lessons, the divine flow, and whether that flow is going the way that we want it to or not, that understanding that we have no control, that we are along for the ride, and whatever will happen, will happen. Now we make this switch into Aries where it feels as if our agency is more in our hands. It feels as if we have to survive. We have to become independent. We have to make the right decisions. We have to move towards our passion and purpose. We have to learn how to say no. And so we're going to be exploring that because, as is true in our human psyche, it all exists. There are the parts where we are learning that we have no control, and there are the parts where we are learning how to wrangle whatever control we have. And ideally, we're learning how to really work some magic within our own chart, within our own psyche. And that does require the holding of several different beliefs, of different teachings, of knowing when, bring in that Aries warrior again, knowing which tool to use to fight which battle. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this and process through it with all of you. So I invite you to take a few deep breaths and just feel your feet on the floor. Put your shoulders back. Shoulders back can feel like a position of power. Chin up and just breathe into your chest. Imagine that you are a warrior, the warrior that defends the land of you, the bouncer at the door of your club, the part of you that knows that it will work to survive at all costs, whatever is thrown at you, whatever you meet in any given room in your life. And put your hand on your heart and just feel into that warrior energy. Acknowledge him or her. And be with that energy for a moment. I think ideally we all wish to get to a place where we have the confidence in our own abilities. We have the trust. We have our own back. And we know that we will advocate for our needs when it becomes clear that there is a need. But I encourage you to feel into this warrior energy as often as you remember to this week. Things have felt out of our control. So the more that you just get accustomed to finding that internal warrior that exists with you all the time, finding him or her, giving him or her some breath, and giving him or her some accolades. Thank you for getting me this far. You have helped me to survive until this point, and I have no doubt that you will help me to survive as we move through our future together. All right, I hope this was helpful. Be sure to tune into the rest of the Awakening with Astrology series to keep deepening into understanding about how these archetypes impact you and who you are.